A new SF5 patch to further address netcode issues dropped today. To my, and probably everyone's surprise, it actually seems to contain a small mid-season balance patch too. The vast majority of the changes are listed as moving hitboxes inward. From what I can tell, this means the hitbox of the attack has been widened, but widened on the side closer to the user, like this. This is more of a bug fix than a buff. It ensures that you can actually hit someone who's abnormally close to you or passing through you, for example Kemi V-Skill 1 or Ibuki Medium Dash. In addition, there's a lot of V-Skill 2 buffs, nerfs, and bug fixes, as well as a couple general balance changes. I'll go through the more important ones in release order, following this list I have, which I'll link in the description. Ryu's V-Skill 2 saw a ton of buffs, which is nice because it was one of the worst V-Skills in the game. For one, it takes a bigger step and has a bit more range. You can now cancel the either trigger. On trigger cancel, it's plus 10 on block. On hit, it's a free juggle state. Your best enders seem to be medium Tatsu for damage and Oki, hard DP for raw damage, and light Tatsu for super. If you get the counter, you can't cancel the V-Skill's first hit, but you can cancel the second. The float stays a little longer, so you can get dash light DP for a stronger and more consistent super conversion. The opponent now crumples after the first hit if you counter something, so it's more consistent when you counter a limb. The hits happen faster, with bigger hitboxes during the counter, so it's really just more consistent in general. Unfortunately, it's still worthless against view reversals. And still not a great anti-air. It's still -4 on block, and it still takes 10 frames to reach its counter state, so in my book, it's still a lot worse than V-Skill 1. It's at least usable now because of the trigger cancel changes. Chun-Li Suzanshu has a bit more forward range, which is actually a pretty nice buff, since using it as a poke is pretty much the only viable way to use it, given that it's still -4 on block and not an overhead. I think this one is still pretty garbage, since she gives up way too much by not picking VS1. The extra reach does make it easier to space to be safe. I feel like this is worth mentioning, since you can use this V-Skill to build V-meter without a confirm, unlike VS1, but I still wouldn't pick it even in Fireball matchups. Bison's Hell Warp pushes back more on block. This should hurt Bison's follow-up frame traps a bit. You can now cancel into Birdie's Chewing Time from EX Bullhorn and EX Bullhead. This makes it easier to get some quick guaranteed V-meter on hit. And it also gives him some time to quickly set up a bubble. Mika's Light Shooting Peach has a bigger hitbox, making it hit sooner at range and work more reliably in combos. Her Medium Shooting Peach has more active frames, which makes it surprisingly safe if you connect at the tail end. You can now cancel a successful counter into VT2. Rashid's V-Skill 2 takes longer to do and has bigger mid-air hurt boxes. The dive kicks you can do out of it are more unsafe on block and whiff. EX Spinning Mixer has 10 more recovery frames on landing for hit, block, and whiff. Rashid is still plus after a forward dash, but can't get point blank when he lands at mid-screen. Dalsum can now cancel his EX Yoga Gale into V-Skill 2, even on whiff. Alex can now cancel EX Chop, EX Slash Elbow, and EX Stampede into V-Skill 2. He can already do this with V-Skill 1, and it's his main way of getting V-Skill up in neutral, so this is a godsend. Both V-Skills take the same amount of time, so his Okizeme is the same for both. Guile V-Skill 2 had a lot of nerfs across the board. It takes longer to start up and recover, but got a bit more hit stun and block stun. Basically, it's slower and worse if it whiffs, but the same otherwise. His VT1 VS2 loop still works, but it's a bit different to set up. It got better at jumping over lows, but that's not too helpful since it whiffs on crouching opponents at most ranges where the opponent would try and use a low. Jury V-Skill 2 charge is 3 frames faster. Obviously this helps you get it up more easily in neutral. Target combo into VS2 charge is now +4 after forward dash, formerly +1. And hard Fuha into VS2 charge is also +4, formerly +1. If you delay the red fireball on Akuma V-Skill 2, it does an extra hit for more damage, and also launches the opponent higher. This seems to significantly improve your mid-screen conversions. Unfortunately, it still throws the opponent really far away, so it's difficult to get much outside the corner. You can also get an extra hit on the EX Red Fireball version, which is significantly more useful. But still not as good as some of his other one-bar combos. Like Honda VS1, you now have significantly less recovery if you destroy a fireball with your V-Skill. The V-Skill improved red fireballs have an extra hit, travel faster, do more damage, and cause longer knockdowns, so I guess they have some neutral use. The startup is horrendous though. Like Honda VS1, you now have noticeably less recovery if you destroy a fireball with the V-Skill. The damage, stun, and V-meter build of the Stomp have all been lowered quite a bit to compensate for the red fireball buffs. I feel like I'm missing some obvious juggle route that makes it all come together. Abigail's ridiculous EX Nectar Charge buffs from last patch have been somewhat reverted. The Stomps now crumple on hit, so you can no longer get forward them into the punch for full screen corner carry and big damage. You can still do one Stomp into the punch follow-up and get a grounded combo. But it's stronger to do no Stomps into punch since there's less scaling. EX Nitro Charge Stomps will also now only bounce the opponent 3 times in juggles instead of 4. Abigail's low short also pushes the opponent out slightly more on block, but they're still close enough for a heavier EX command grab. Manat's V-Skill 2 now has more active frames when she has the orb. Since she's moving during those frames, it also has more range. The range was formerly identical for both versions. Both of Zeku's VS2 pets have less recovery when you cancel into form swap. This makes it easier to summon them in neutral, and not as punishable to summon in cancels. On Grounded Connect, Sakura can now go from VS2 to medium uppercut instead of light. Medium has slightly better damage, corner carry, and Okizeme. This means that her VS2 combo from Stand Fierce is now marginally more powerful than her Stand Strong combo. In juggles, you still have to use light DP. Falkster Renhouse will now hit crouching opponents at most ranges. This is about the max range before it whiffs. This is a decent poke with a great crush counter conversion, so it got some nerfs to compensate for the buff, mostly just longer lingering hurt boxes before and after it hits. It's also now -4 on block from -3. though obviously it's much safer than it was when it missed crouching opponents entirely. This change also means her new target combo works on crouching opponents, which is nice for setting up VS2. They made the target combo much more unsafe on block, again to compensate for the fact that it's no longer outright duckable. All Sagat's VS2 Tiger knees recover 2 frames faster on hit and block. This means even point blank, light is 0, heavy is -2, and EX is 0. When they're well spaced, you can end up with a ton of plus frames. That was a true block string. Also, they all have smaller hurt boxes, so they're way better in neutral in general, which obviously helps Sagat's V-meter build. The shorter recovery adds a few new juggles here and there. You can now do EX Tiger Uppercut after VS2 Light Knee mid-screen if you're close. Remember, this is 0 on block and builds V-meter. Lucia VS2 now pushes back a bit more on block. It's unbelievably precise to space, but it's now at least possible to make it safe. It will also no longer activate the opponent's proximity guard unless it's close enough to hit. Gil's V Reverse pushes back less on block. I'm guessing this brings it in line with the rest of the cast, but I can't exactly go back and check. Formerly, Gil VS1 would consume a little V-time if you did it during either trigger. Now it doesn't consume any. Finally, Seth's VS2 spinning kick is now a true block string into the VT1 follow-up, meaning it's always punishable and can't catch people attacking the wrong direction. I had a bit of trouble reading this one because the patch notes incorrectly listed as a VT2 change.